legislative journals of the province, the insurance company's description of his house in Philadelphia, an unpublished manuscript in which he outlined his program of opposition to the Stamp Act, a note on his meeting with Baron Munchausen and Raspe, his chronicler, a circumstantial account of the Grand Ohio Company from which Franklin hoped to make a fortune in land speculation, his acquaintance with James Boswell, two fables by Franklin published in 1770 but lost sight of till 1936, a comparison of the two versions of Wedderburn's attack on Franklin, one as printed by the British government and one as remembered by Franklin's friends, the neglected record of his activities as chairman of the Pennsylvania Committee of Safety, an unpublished letter to General Schuyler written during the mission to Canada, an accurate report of the conference with Lord Howe given directly from the minutes, the amazing melodrama of the British spies who surrounded Franklin in Paris, new translations of 3 of his Passé bagatelles, written by him, so far as is known, only in French, several of the long-lost stories he was accustomed to tell his friends in France, some of them later retold in his autobiography, details of his administration as President of Pennsylvania, notes on his account with the Bank of North America, proof that he could not have gone to Lancaster in June 1787, a minute record of his acts and opinions in the Constitutional Convention, and accounts of the 2nd century of his famous bequests to Boston and Philadelphia. Grateful acknowledgments are hereby made to the American Philosophical Society for permission to consult the Franklin papers in the Society's library, and to publish, for the first time, certain documents and letters by and to Franklin. To the Historical Society of Pennsylvania for unfailing hospitality and assistance, to the Library of the University of Pennsylvania for permission to study its Franklin papers and to reprint Franklin's Elegy, to the Philadelphia Contribution Ship for information respecting Franklin and the founding of the company, to the Pennsylvania Company, custodian of the records of the Bank of North America, for transcripts from the bank's ledgers, to the Free Library of Philadelphia for an opportunity to examine books temporarily on exhibition there, to the National Archives at Washington for photographs of Franklin's signatures to the Treaty of Alliance with France and the Treaty of Peace with England, to the Cornell University Library for furnishing a photostatic copy of a manuscript of Franklin's last speech and permitting the use or reproduction of it, to the Yale University Library for special privileges with regard to the Mason Franklin collection, now being catalogued and not generally accessible, to the John Carter Brown Library for permission to read the letters of Franklin to Catherine Ray, to the Frick Art Reference Library for assistance in the matter of Franklin portraits, to the Massachusetts Historical Society for courteous favors during a visit there, and to the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the New York Public Library, and the Fogg Art Museum of Harvard University for permission, elsewhere specifically acknowledged, to reproduce portraits of Franklin. Particular acknowledgments are due to Mrs. Charles Iselin for permission to examine and use the Passy-Chaillot correspondence between John Jay and his wife, to Dr. A.S.W. Rosenbach for permission to read Franklin's unpublished letters to Madame Brion, and to Lieutenant Colonel Ralph H. Isham for permission to quote from the private papers of James Boswell. The final writing of the book called for almost daily use of the New York Public Library over a period of 2 years. It would be difficult to describe the expert interest and friendly patience of the members of the staff, no matter what burdens were laid upon them. It would be impossible to express in full the gratitude here imperfectly recorded. The book could not have been written if, in the past 20 years or so, special students of Franklin had not continually added to what has become almost a Franklin science. Many of the facts now first brought into a narrative biography have already appeared in monographs and in articles in learned journals. Acknowledgments are made to all of these in the general bibliography and chapter references at the end of the volume. At least the names must be gratefully given of at least a few of the friends, acquaintances, and strangers who have shared their knowledge or sources of knowledge with invariable generosity. Carl Becker, Julian P. Boyd, M. V. Brewington, Verner W. Crane, George Simpson Eddy, Andrew Keogh,